Welcome back to Passing Time with Craig. As always, I'm your host, Craig, and I've got a fun interview, a great interview with the wonderful aloT of Poetry. We had a great time chatting. Beautiful soul. We met at Chinook Blast and just instantly connected. I love them. So we're gonna chat about how she got into poetry, what people kind of think when they think poetry, what they learn in school, how different it can be. What's the poetry scene like here in Calgary, and the importance of having a bunch of people with different voices getting to be heard. So it's a great conversation. But before we get to that, we have to talk Oscars. The Oscars just happened this past Sunday. Thank you to everyone who came out to our third sold out Oscar viewing party at Born Brewing. Such a good time. I was pretty happy with this year's event. Conan O'Brien crushed it as always. He's so funny. I'm so glad he came back this year after hosting for the first time last year. Some great jokes, specifically the one about, no British actor in a long time nominated in the best acting categories, and the British people saying, well, at least we arrest our pedophiles. Great jokes. So many great ones. Jimmy Kimmel, fantastic. I was pretty happy. I'm so happy Michael B. Jordan. Love him so much. So deserving of that award and every other award he's gotten for it, not just Sinners, but in the past for various things. Ryan Coogler, fantastic. A little bummed. One battle after another, one Best Picture, but kind of saw that maybe happening. But in the end, great time. So thank you, Born, for letting me host once again. But let's get right into it, because we have so much to talk about with our wonderful guests, all about poetry. So let's head on over to my interview with aloT of Poetry. I am so excited to chat with you today. I've been looking forward to this. I've been reading up on you. I met you at Chinook Blast, and you were fantastic. So thankful for you to find time to come be with me today to chat, because I just want to dive into it, and I just think I just love creative people, and you're very creative, and the world of poetry is so, there's so much to cover and talk about. So I really want to start with young you. So you were born and raised in South Africa, right?
Yes, I was.
Was young you was writing your favorite subject in school? Were you has this always been there, or was this something you've discovered later in life?
I love when I get this question. So what's interesting is I started reading very early when I was 2.
What?
One of my earliest memories is our grade 0, so kind of after kindergarten.
Yeah.
She kind of left the room during story time. Looking back now, it was 100% to have a smoke. 100%.
Yeah. 100%.
And I was the only one that could read. So, in the classroom, there's a little reading corner.
Yeah.
I was the only one that would sit in there. That made some teachers think I was antisocial. I was like, no, I'm the only one that can read these books.
Yeah.
So during story time, she leaves. She gives me the book, and I'm literally there in the chair as the teacher, holding the book open for my classmates who can't read.
Yeah.
And I still remember the story as about a big giant living in a little town.
Okay.
And there's small trees, small dog, all that stuff. And I'm like, wait, am I doing your job?
Yeah.
Where is my payment?
Yeah.
But
Seriously.
But yeah, my parents really stressed reading early on. They just encouraged us to read.
Yeah.
After church on Sundays, straight to the bookshop. Well, lunch, bookshop, pick any books you want. And writing, I never thought I would do.
Yeah.
Until I was in grade 1, where we actually had to write a little, so I was 7. So we had to write a little, story about our summer vacation.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I wrote about the rain because, rainy summers in South Africa. And I actually wrote about the rain from the perspective of a raindrop being born in the clouds. And as it falls, it's aging,
You were 7?
Yes. And so, but as it's approaching the ground, it's nearing the end of its life.
Yeah.
Ultimately seeing its family and friends fall to the ground and die before it, only to also end up on the ground. And then I'm the little girl just splashing in the pond. And that year I won the first prize for literacy.
Wow.
But poetry was never kind of on my mind, because also like growing up like Nigerian, there's the big three, you know, doctor, engineer, lawyer,
Yeah.
maybe accountant. If you really can't do the other three.
Yeah. Because
And
it's the whole writers don't make
you're not gonna
money.
make money. How are you gonna
No.
put food on the table? I
Yeah.
actually wrote a poem about that. And it was very interesting because in the school that I did go to, we had this thing called a poetry festival where all the girls would pick poems from books that are already written, and then we would have a day where every girl would go up in front of her peers and judges and recite the poem, and then you get graded right after everyone goes. So like they give you a certificate.
Yeah.
And I never ever ever got more than a B plus
Really?
ever. And so I was like, I guess fine, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I guess like whatever.
All right, fine.
But I always enjoyed poetry. I always enjoyed writing. I always enjoyed like whether it was like Shakespeare, Maya Angelou, like the usual things that
Yeah.
teach you in school. And I was always really like into that stuff, like whether we were reading like, you know, Gatsby or Mice of Man or any of that stuff. I was really into like, you know, the analysis and the understanding, comprehension, all that good stuff. But I never thought I would write poetry,
Yeah.
like ever. It was always like short stories. I once wrote like a bootleg Harry Potter.
Oh, really?
That was that was not good. Yeah, but poetry was never on my mind.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really find ways to express myself. I was actually misunderstood a lot as a child, whether I was too quiet or I would say the wrong thing. I
Yeah.
always feel like I'm like, why are my feelings not being received the way I'm intending them? And many journals and Tumblr posts later.
Yeah. Good old Tumblr shout out.
We're not gonna talk about Tumblr. I discovered I was like, okay, poetry, but it wasn't like any of the poetry I'd ever learned in school, or even like the way that they teach you to
Yeah.
write with like the stanzas and the rhyming couplets and all that stuff, which I thought was interesting. But it didn't feel like my voice.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I went to my first open mic, poetry open mic. My ex-boyfriend actually took me to it. It was in the park. It's called Spoken Sessions. And it was actually a month before I moved here and it was monthly. So it was the only one I ever got to go to.
Oh, really?
And I went there and it was people doing poetry.
Yeah.
And I lost my freaking mind. I was like, what do you mean you guys are writing, you're writing your feelings, you're writing this poetry, but you're also sharing it with strangers in public?
Yep.
What do you mean? But I was like, I was inspired by them. I was in awe by them. I was confused. I was like, this is an option.
Yeah.
Like this is something I can do. And then I was hooked. Okay. And one of the open micers, so this is like in 2015, one of the open micers that I met there actually ended up being the World Slam Poetry champion in 2022.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And so, but when I moved here, I was, you know, just starting over. And
Yeah.
I was like 19. And I was like, I'm not going to share my feelings.
No.
I'm not going to share my feelings.
No.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
But then Bethel Afrowork, shout out Bethel, she was the president of the spoken word club at UFC. So like a year later, I got into that, and then I'd go to more open mics in Calgary. Then people were like, "Oh my God, you should feature." Then suddenly I'm doing things at Workland Center and the Grand and all this, and I was like, "Wow, I guess this is my life."
Yeah. This is it. This
And it
is
was
what's
great. It
happening.
was great. I feel like the voice I couldn't find like as a younger girl.
Yeah.
I was like, I truly feel like when I've written and I'm sharing my poetry, that's like my truest self. It sometimes confuses people because I'm a very different person when I perform.
Yeah.
Versus when I'm just like having a conversation. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
So that is how we got here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you brought up something that I wanted to touch on. So it's the perfect time. You brought up what we learn in school of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all learn it. Those different. There's kind of just like set ones, and when we talk about Shakespeare, he was the king of a bunch of that stuff. We teach kids pretty earlier on haikus because it's kind of easy and fun for kids to get. But we are kind of taught that it's like you have to fit into these roles in poetry, but that's not the case, and that's not what you're finding, right?
No, it's really not. Especially because, again, like I found that stuff like very interesting. I thought it was cool. It's great to kind of analyze and understand the poetry. But something that I teach in the workshops that I teach, I created this workshop called Finding Your Poetic Voice.
Yeah.
And it really just focuses on really getting the thoughts onto the page and then finding the courage and vulnerability to share them with who's there.
Yeah.
Because I truly feel like in this life, I think all we want is to understand and be understood. And sometimes it's hard to find and it's hard to do in just day-to-day conversations because we have expectations depending where you are. Are you at work? Are you at the bar? Like where you at? You feel like you have to be a different person for each setting.
Yeah.
But shout out to the people who are, consistent across all settings. I respect you.
Yep.
But I found that poetry, especially because people don't think if you say, okay, we're doing a poetry workshop today, they're like, oh no, I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
I can't write poetry. I'm like, no, I'm not asking you to write a certain type of poetry. I'm just trying to get you to find your voice.
Yeah.
What does your voice look like when you're really trying to convey an idea, a feeling, an observation? I feel like things happen to us all day, every day. Things are always happening to us.
Always.
But we don't always have the opportunity to just share how we're feeling about all of this life stuff.
Yeah. And there's a lot going on. And so now tell me about when you finally decided to do a poem in front of an audience. What was that like for you? Did you just black out the whole time and just be like, did this happen? I don't remember. Like, or what was it like? Was it going on stage, being on stage, and then getting off stage?
Oh my God. Okay. So the first time I actually went on stage was in South Africa at that session because my boyfriend at the time raised my hand for me. Because they were like, the hosts were like, does anyone else have a poem to share? And he was like, she does. And I was like, oh my soul. Mind you, I don't have poems on hand.
Yeah.
I had to whip up my Tumblr on my phone, on my Galaxy S4. Like, what? I was like, do I even have like data for this? Like, what is happening? So I just pulled up like the first one. I was like, I think this one is good enough.
Yeah.
Because I saw other people using their phones. So I was like, I guess this is what
this
we
is
do.
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I have no concept. I have no context for any of this.
Yeah.
But I just like I did it and I read it because I also could have just said like no, but I was like, I guess I'll do it. And it was so amazing to share the poem that I literally just like wrote randomly at home and posted on Tumblr without thinking, without editing. There were so many spelling mistakes because I have dyslexia, so it's like it's not. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. Yeah. But everyone was just like so receptive afterwards and like wanted to talk about it. I did 100% black out, but I think the poem that I read was something about like looking back is a little cringy, but it was about it was a critique on like society, and how everything's kind of like, like a thunderstorm and how like, it starts quietly and then it starts to get cold and the white clouds turn black. And then there was like onomatopoeia in there. I was like, drip, drop, drip, drop. And I'm like, oh my soul. Wait, I'm cringing. Wait. But I think the main thing was like, I didn't think that I would ever be able to do that. Yeah. Especially after I saw everyone else go up first. I was just happy to clap and cheer for the finger snaps. I was like, yes, this is great.
This is good.
This was my first time. I was like, oh, this is real. We're gonna finger
grab me some more drinks and snacks. I'm good to just chill.
It was crazy. But like I think that's the main thing. It's like when you're in a supportive space and you see other people go up, you also get the courage to go up. Like because other people's vulnerability will also inspire you to be vulnerable. But when you're in a space that feels a little more judgmental, you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna say anything today. But yeah, I think that was the main thing. Like I didn't know that I would have the courage to do that because in the past no one really asked me what I thought. You know? And my parents were pretty strict too, and I went to an all-girls Catholic school. Like it was, no one was asking me my opinion. No, no one was asking me my opinion.
Yeah.
So I never thought that people would want to really hear what I had to say.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to be careful about it. You could just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it rip. And people were like, yeah, that was great. They're like, yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So that was cool. So to answer your question, my first choice to go up and do it was not my choice.
Not your choice.
But I'm glad that I did.
Yeah.
And then even like sharing it for the first time in Calgary, like a couple of years later, I was like, okay, I've done this once before.
Yeah.
I could possibly do it again. And I did the same poem because I also had not written anything new until that point from like all the moving and stuff. So yeah, that was wild. I would
is
do it again.
Yeah.
I guess I did do it again.
Yeah. It looks like you've done it a couple times.
Here and there. I don't know.
So I've had a lot of like singer-songwriters on the pod before, and I always like to ask, like, where do you get the inspiration? Does this stuff just come to you, like, or do you find if you take time, you're like, I'm going to sit down for an hour today, it doesn't flow as creatively? Is it one of those things where we're having a conversation and you're like, one moment, and you just gotta jot things down? Like, when does this come to you?
So I think for me, I do not have structured time to write.
Yeah.
Well, I don't make structured time to write. It's just me just like shaming myself on this podcast. But I found that my best poems really came out of an initial thought, like writing it down. Sometimes I even like just write down like it's like a word, a sentence for like something I was feeling, and then even like recently I started editing a poem that I wrote in 2017.
Oh wow!
And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then but I suddenly had the words or the experience to kind of develop the rest of the poem. But all of it come from just moments. Sometimes I do have that moment where I'm like, oh, I just have to write that down super quick. But otherwise, sometimes it's in those like contemplative moments. And especially when you have those thoughts where you're like, I really cannot get this out of my head.
Yeah.
I need to write it down. And I also feel like the writing it down physically definitely changes the experience when I'm just making a note on my phone.
Yeah.
It like flows so much more because you really like as soon as you're sitting down to like write, whether it's paper or journal or whatever, you really like kind of hone in on your own world, and then you're in your own head, and you just let it all go onto the page, whether it's like a sentence, two sentences. Once I sat down, I thought I didn't have anything for a while because I was like, oh, I haven't written anything for a while. I didn't really have anything. And then when I suddenly had the thought and I sat down, then I was there for like 3 hours.
Wow.
3 hours. My hand was very, very sore.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know the young kids won't relate, but I was like, it was like writing an essay in school. I was like, I've done this before.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know they don't remember. That was tough. You just made me have like cold sweat thinking back of those essays and stuff. Ooh.
Yo, and the little dent you just get on your finger that just stays there forever.
Yeah.
forever. But I think it's like the little moments, little conversations. Like I could write about this podcast, like, you know, maybe like 2 weeks from now, a year from now, I can really see it, you know, it's like called passing time, you know, it could be fun.
Yeah. I like that.
Just for you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, okay, so speaking of like writing, you know, some of your poems are very, you know, personal stories about you, but there's ways for people to connect and find things when like I find that's what's so interesting about poetry is like a writer can write and it's very much about maybe it's about a parent dying or losing a loved one or losing a job or a happy day, but people can interpret it in so many different ways. Like that must be very unique and cool for you as a writer.
It is, and it's interesting because I have this poem called Connection, and it's basically about a poem wishing that words didn't exist, which is ironic.
Yep.
But it kind of came from literally thinking about that because I thought to myself, wouldn't it be so cool if we just didn't have to speak to each other, and not in a negative way, but more like we could just like touch hands, or just look into each other's eyes, and it's like you get me and I get you, and we didn't have to say a single damn thing, and that would be so beautiful. There would be less misunderstandings, less war, less so many things, because everyone would just really not just hear the other person, but empathize because you're feeling what the person is feeling. And I feel like sometimes I wish that was the way we could communicate, because so many times in life, so often we just have conversations, and even when we have that conversation where you leave the conversation, you're like, I don't think I really conveyed what I meant.
Yes.
But then you just kind of leave it, and you just hope and pray and fingers crossed that the person understood what you tried to say.
I know that feeling. You definitely go like, I just wasted a half hour trying to explain, and I don't think I got it.
You know, and then you give up. You're like, well, it is what it is. But yeah, like that's why I think even when I was writing that poem, it's because I understand that's like everyone's going through things. Everyone's just wishing that someone will just understand what they're trying to say without having to go through the effort of like explaining and thinking or overthinking.
Yes.
Or even just like staying silent and wishing that you didn't stay silent. And and then when I share poems and then someone comes up to me and says, that reminded me of this time, that reminded me of this time, I felt like this. And that's the connection, right?
Yeah.
And that came from me sharing literally my thoughts about how I wish I could communicate better. And then people come up to me and say, you know what? I wish I could communicate better. And it's just like small things like that. Because I feel like we have so many differences.
Yeah.
But we have so many also similarities. They may not, happen the exact same way, but we can definitely, I feel like when we try, we can relate to one another, and it doesn't have to be exact. And I think that's where sometimes things get misaligned. Like you say like, oh, I can't relate to that. And then now suddenly it's like, okay, now we're enemies, or we can't be friends or something like that. But everyone's going through stuff. I think like empathy was the main thing I was trying to get across. Because sometimes I feel like even in society nowadays, it's almost like we can't afford to be empathetic because people could take advantage of you or use your feelings against you. Like lots of anxiety. I also have social anxiety about it.
Ugh. Preaching to the choir.
So it's just like, and you're a host, right?
Yeah.
It's like this stuff is scary because
Yeah.
you're putting yourself out in public all the time. It's on you to like make sure everyone's having a good time, at trivia.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone is watching you because everyone's taking their cue from you, their energy from you.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, you have to go home and just
Yeah.
pray
Yeah.
that everyone just had a good time.
Yeah.
People didn't see your anxiety. People didn't see you sweating. People didn't see you getting stressed. But maybe people in the audience were just like, this was a great time.
Yeah.
This was a great time. And oh my God, he did so great. I would come to this trivia again.
Yeah.
And and so it's just like small things like that. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's every time, you go and host something or speak, like you get that, like where you're just like, oh, please let people feel what they're supposed to feel, and hopefully I do a good job and I don't just shit the bed.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm sure, like, have you experienced, like, after, like, say you're about to go host something and then you're nervous, you're anxious, and then you get up, you're like, well, I do the best I could, I guess.
Yeah.
And then someone comes up to you and just like, you were amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you're like, oh my God. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I was shitting myself. People were like, well, it didn't show.
Yeah.
And you're like, how the hell did it not show? But you did it because you're a professional.
Yeah.
I know, but every single time you're like, well, I know I can do this.
Yeah.
I've done this before.
I've done this plenty of times.
I've been validated
Yeah.
many, many times.
But still go,
same
I don't know if I can do it. And then you go on and you just perform, you host, you do your thing. And then, and then afterwards people are like, that was amazing. We want to have you back. And I'm like,
They want to have you back?
what?
It's like, really?
Just played it all very differently in my head.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. It's playing differently in our heads. I think that's like such a great thing about poetry is like you're just getting out of your head.
Yeah.
Putting it on the page and it's raw, it's there, it's real, and you're just sharing it with people and people receive it. People actually receive it.
Yeah.
And that's great. And it's great when they share what they received with you afterwards. Sometimes it's like sometimes it's vastly different than what you imagined. But it's also like if you didn't share, then this moment may not have happened.
Right.
And then they might go and share that with somebody else. And then it just kind of ripples. And I think that's how we try and connect to each other in a world where we can't read each other's minds.
Yeah. No, we definitely can't read each other's
cannot.
minds. And there's times that I go, what?
Like, what are you saying? It's like, can you rewind?
Rewind, please.
What are we talking about? But yeah, and those people also there's probably people who have felt nervous talking to me or felt nervous talking to you.
Yeah.
They were like, oh my gosh, like, what do you mean? It's Craig. I can't just talk to Craig.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You're just a guy doing what he enjoys.
Yeah.
Sharing time with people.
I just like to have fun.
Like people had told me that they were like intimidated to talk to me just because they were like, oh, you're a poet, you're so deep. And I'm like, listen, I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl, And I'm like, wow, that's so weird. Because I never thought I would be a person that someone's like, oh, whoa, like, I can't just talk to you.
Yeah.
Like, of course you can. That's why I'm doing this, because I don't know how to talk to people. I have to write poetry.
Yeah.
But yes, it's very nice when people share what they've received after I've offered them my heart and soul in the form of a poem.
Yeah. Well, and so people, have seen you perform, but last year was a big year. You released your first chapbook.
I did. Oh my God.
So I wanted to know, what was that process for you for finding the poems? Like, did you want them to all kind of be connected? Did you just want a variety of things? Did you want the ones that meant the most to you for people to have? Like, what was your process for your chapbook?
Let me tell you a story, Craig.
Okay.
So it was lockdown. It was 2020.
Yeah.
And Instagram like just released like that function where you can like put a question and people can answer it
Oh,
in
yeah.
a story with a sticker or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I just hit like 5. I think I made like my poetry Instagram in like 2019 or something. And I was like, oh, 500 followers. I was like, I was gassed. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And Instagram has this new feature. I'll like use it. So I was like, okay. I did like a live Instagram reading, and then on my stories, I was like, thank you so much for following me. I appreciate it. Send me a word or a phrase, and I'll write a poem and I'll send it to you. I thought I would get like 5,
Yeah.
10.
Yeah. Maybe.
I got like 40.
Oh.
I got 40 suggestions, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I started writing like 2, but I was like, I need an Excel sheet. I was like, there's no way I can do this. So I made an Excel sheet, and I put like everyone's like words and what they submitted and all that stuff. And I was like, okay, if I share it, can I like put your name, or do you want like anonymous, or do you want like a nickname or something like that? And I was collecting these poems, and then they were coming quicker than I could write them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna collect them all first, and then I'll start writing after that. And I was like, oh dang. So I started writing. I think I wrote like maybe 6. And I was like, and some of them were like inspired by the people, some of them inspired by like the people in the word. Some of those people were like strangers, like friends, family. And so I was like, okay, I guess I will do this. And somewhere along the line, besides, burnout and lots of time in COVID, because you're indoors, and I'm sitting with my burnout that I created myself.
Yeah. Well done. Good
like,
job. Oh, right. This is on me.
This is me. I did this. I did this. It's full circle. I did this. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, how do I want to deliver this? Because it's going to be such a pain to like send individual ones. So I was like, okay, I'll put it in a Google Doc.
Yeah.
So I started like writing all the poems in Google Doc. Maybe I got like 12 poems in. I was like, wait, this is a book. This is a whole book. So I started thinking to myself, okay, I was like, maybe I should just publish it as a book. And I started like researching, because I never published a single thing in my whole life besides Tumblr posts.
Yeah.
And so I started looking into like Amazon, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to give Daddy Bezos more of my money.
I know.
Like, no. And I was like, oh, this is so hard. And there was like covers, and I was like, this is too much. This is too much. I actually sat and started writing those poems. It took me like, I guess essentially 4 years to finish all the poems. And so all of the poems in that book are new. Like I'd never seen any of them before, because they're all inspired by the submissions, by the words. And so I was like, this is wild. And so in 2024, I finally finished. I was like trying to like work on a cover. I was like, I'm just gonna publish it as a PDF myself, and then people can just read it for free or whatever. But like, because I started like as I finished the book, I was like, whoa, this took me like 4 years to finish and look over and write and rewrite. I was like, I feel like this deserves a little bit more. So I was like, okay, I can't just do a PDF.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I gonna do? Also, then my poem is gonna be out in the world, and like, copyright is real, all these things. So I was like, what am I gonna do? And at that time, like in those 4 years, I got into like web design. I designed a couple like websites for artists, independent artists, because I enjoy that. And I also made my own website in that time. So I was like, okay, I can just put it on the website.
Yeah.
aloTpoetry.com.
Yep. It's a great site, by the way. I love the look of it.
Oh my God.
Of course I did.
Oh my
I did my
God.
research.
We love a host that does research. I'll say it again. We love a host that does research. Okay. But yeah, I designed it and built it myself. And so I was like, okay, I'll just publish it on the website. So that seems a little more streamlined, a little more professional. But I didn't have a cover. And in that time, I was like learning Illustrator and that kind of stuff. And I made like a shitty cover on like Canva. It was very much not legal to use in a publication. And so now I was stuck. I was like, oh my God, like I don't have a cover. I was like, I'm not like an illustrator, besides like basic stuff, but none of them was really like, embodying the thing I just spent 4 years writing. But then I actually went to the Workland Center. They were doing a window galleries kind of walkthrough with the artists, and there was this artist Liz Fabrero. Shout out Liz, love you so much. She's an illustrator, and I saw her work, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is what the cover of book looks like, and I don't know what it looks like, but it looks like this.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to her afterwards, and I was like, I love your work. I love what she said about her work. It was very much about like empathy and womanhood, and just like her style it's like feminine, but also like ambiguous. Like the figures that she draws are like I'm like borderline androgynous, but so like ethereal. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I need. I don't know what it is, but this is what I need. And so I was like, hey, I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to illustrate the cover?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, yes. And so we worked together and we finally had a cover. And I feel like getting that cover, it was that push I needed to just like, I got an editor, I came up with a plan, I planned a launch on my 30th birthday. I was like, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And then I finished it and it was great. I sent the final like manuscript to my editor, Samantha Jones, another poet. Fantastic. Shout out Sam. It was very much a community effort.
Yeah. Sounds it.
And and then I hosted it at the lab by One Big Jam over at Victoria Park Station. And it was so amazing that I took this Instagram post
Yeah.
thing and it became a publication.
Right.
It's crazy. And it was so, and like my parents were there, my whole family was there. It was amazing. And so I was like, all those poems, because I feel like all those poems aren't really about me necessarily, which I think was also really nice.
Yeah.
It also felt like a huge collaborative effort because none of those poems would exist without the contributions.
Yeah.
And so, and the book wouldn't exist without Liz's illustration or Samantha's editing, like the mentors that I've had over the years. And so I was like, this is like a nice combination of like all the stages in my life, but the poems themselves aren't about me. So like depending on the word or the phrase, I really kind of like took that idea and tried to like look at it through someone else's eyes, and then that's what became the poems.
Yeah.
Because there's poems like some of the poems are. I think the thing that connects all the poems is that they're all just kind of about like the human experience, because there's things like entanglements and womanhood and just like stress, loving your mother, like
Yeah.
there's so many things, and it's nice to feel like my poems are the connection between all these people that may not even know each other. So, and some people even forgot that they submitted a word or a phrase. Like one of my friend, he's very funny. He submitted never,
Yeah.
just like never exclamation point, but he was writing never. I'll never give you a word, but I used it as a poem.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, why are you like this? Because he didn't remember. I was like, why are you the way that you are? You know who you are.
Yeah.
And so I was like, there's so many things. Like one of the poem's suggestions was like my friend's the word was her mother's name, so that was pretty cool. I like that. And then it was things about like grief and like sex and betrayal, and some of these things I was like, oh, this is a little spicy, because I don't really write like spicy poems like that, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a nice exercise. I was like, I'm gonna try to write something a little intimate, because I don't usually write about that. So that was very interesting. So yeah, so I think that whole process, it's a lot of like things and feelings and experiences across many different people from many different places. Because some of my friends from South Africa, my family, like, you know, my partner, like everything was in there.
Yeah.
People I don't even talk to anymore.
Wow.
Were like in there.
Yeah.
Which is great. But I just, left them as anonymous because I still had that Excel sheet.
Yeah.
And this is why artists, you need to have an Excel sheet. So Excel sheets will save your life.
Listen up.
Put things in the Excel sheet.
Seriously, I have all my trivia questions in an Excel sheet. And when I like used it last, so I can reuse them.
You have a database.
I do. I have them all. So yeah, I get you.
Oh my God, we love an administrative king.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you also mentioned, this book really came about, really became this book because of like your editor and an illustrator and this community. You mentioned the word community. What is the Calgary poetry community like?
Oh my gosh. It's so it's so varied because I think the very again like the very first like encounter I had with the poetry community was UFC, the spoken word club.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I didn't know anything else. So when I think the very first place I really encountered kind of like live music, local art was at Cafe Koi or Koi, RIP Koi. We loved
Oh,
you.
yes.
So good. And then it was like the open mics for like music and people doing poetry. And so it was just like signing for open mics there. So of course those are a little more like interdisciplinary, like you could do anything.
Yeah.
And I think the very first space that was specifically for poetry was at Koi. There was this spoken word night called Expressions, run by Cobra Collins. Shout out Cobra Collins. And that was a night specifically for poetry. And that was when I started just doing it, like signing up a little more, like frequently.
Yeah.
And then because it was poets in the room, people were like, oh, there's this thing, there's this open mic, there's this open mic. So there's like the Single Onion, which is like Western Canada's longest running open mic or something,
Yeah.
which is crazy. And I would go there and like meet like different people, like people who've been doing poetry in Calgary for like a long time, people who like moved from different places. And then they asked me to be a feature. Did I know what a feature was? No.
No. But you're like,
Absolutely
did you
not.
just say, yeah,
I'll do
I
it.
love being a
And
feature.
I'm getting paid.
Oh.
I was like, what? Because that also wasn't a thing in my brain. I was like, what do you mean I'm going to be paid
Yeah.
to to read my poems?
Yeah.
Because that's not an option.
No.
That's never an option.
What are you talking about?
You know? Your parents don't say like, you know, when you grow up, you know what you should do? You should be a host. You should be a poet.
Yeah.
It's more like, you're so good at this. What about school? What are you going to do? It's like, but you're great at this, though.
Yeah. Yeah. You're great at this.
That's nice. But your degree.
Yeah. But
you go to
let's
school,
talk
by the
about
way?
that degree. I actually went to SAIT for radio broadcasting, so I did do some like
I love
schooling,
that.
but
That's
yeah,
dope.
I just
That's dope.
use so many of the skills I learned from that program.
That's good.
Nowadays,
I love
so.
that. I love that. And I feel like those kinds of skills are very relevant nowadays because lots of people don't know how to talk to people.
They don't.
Which is fair. But yeah, but it's like, so the poetry, like, 'cause there's so many like different spaces in poetry because there's open mics, like there's regular open mics. You go, you sign up. There's open mics that will hire a feature to kind of be, and the open mic will kind of happen around the feature.
Yeah.
Or the feature's just kind of like in the middle of the open mics. There's open mics like Wolf's Voices, where it's poetry, arts, and music, but specifically kind of like celebrating the feminine. There's YYC Slam, so the slam poetry.
Yeah.
Okay, which I love going to. So good. I've competed a couple slams. I've won a couple slams. And then actually for the whole season, which kind of goes from April to March.
Yeah.
Whoever kind of wins the finals. So if you go enough and get enough points for competing in the slam, you compete in the finals in March. That actually happened on Monday.
Oh yeah.
And then you get to go represent Calgary at the Canadian Individual Poetry Slam in
Ooh.
Vancouver.
Wow.
And then if you win that, you get to go to the International Slam,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So like slam is a completely different thing because it's got like rules and stuff. But the Calgary Slam organization, they're so amazing. Shout out Matt and Cobra. There's open mic, there's the slam, and then they also have a feature, which is very cool. And so slam's a completely different thing. I've actually like judged the last 3 Calgary Slam finals, which is great because I didn't go often enough to qualify in the slam. So I was like, I'll be a judge. No
Yeah.
problem.
I could do that.
Which is great. Like I learned so much from there. And then there's also the event that Ashley Freericks, who actually works for the Writers Guild of Alberta, she runs one called at Pachamama Soul. It's a vegan cafe, if you've ever been. And she does like features as well with open mics. Melvie X does one, Spoken Up. Like, so you could do an open mic anywhere,
Yeah.
really. But then there's like there's like other things like workshops, like, you know, I run workshops. Alcove Center of the Arts runs workshops. I do workshops there too. Sometimes I go for like schools, like you can go to a school and like do a poetry workshop. And of course we have like the organization, because there's organizations as well, like the Writers Guild of Alberta, Alexander Writers Center, the Writers Union. There's also the League of Canadian Poets.
Yeah.
There's a League of Canadian Poets, which is also apparently like a goal
Yeah.
for poets. I didn't know about it. I had no idea. And people are like striving for these things, like awards and that kind of stuff. And so I think it all depends on like what people are trying to do with their poetry, because there's so many amazing poets that I know that haven't ever written a book.
Yeah.
There's so many poets who have written so many books, but they don't perform. Right? Like they do readings.
Yeah.
There's so many like slam poets who like your poem has to be 3 minutes, who maybe don't have a poem that's longer than 3 minutes, you know? And so it's like what kind of like, it depends on like what your style is. Like, do you like to compete? Do you like to write? Just like write? Do you like to, what do you like to do? Do you like to just give workshops? Because there's also poets who give workshops but don't really perform as much. Because then also that's a different question. It's like once your art form, your practice becomes like work, then do you kind of lose the creative like, stuff of it? Does it stop you from writing? Like, are you too busy to now? Are you now busy in the business of your art to make the art? Which I thought was happening to me at one point, where I was like doing like so many workshops, and I was not performing for a little bit, and there was a point in time when like I was performing so much and I was so tired that I hadn't written anything. So I was like, what is happening? What is happening? But the poetry community is like, it's pretty rich in Calgary, but I think one of the things that I always like to like advocate for is like when I curate poetry events, I really like to get like, you know, queer writers in there, BIPOC writers in there, just to get it more out there, because I also feel like a lot of like immigrants or women or queer folk don't really know about the space. And it's interesting because I think the poetry space in Calgary specifically has a lot of white women, which I think is just, you know, the way it is. Like, I just imagine like my English teacher, as you know, and she and her poet writing friends like getting together to like do poetry and create these organizations, which is like so cool. But yeah, just like getting more diverse voices into poetry, which was amazing, because at the last slam, I think besides myself, I can't remember the last time there was a Black woman doing slam, which was so crazy. But at the finals, there was 3. And I was like, oh my God, it's amazing. Which I love. But also all the finalists were also women, like women identifying, which was so cool. And apparently had not happened before.
Wow.
But yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask you about that, because I was reading in your bio, and like, and I just think it's so important, especially 2026. We've seemed to have gone backwards in times when it comes to humanity and rights, and how important your voice, being queer and immigrant, female, person of color, like everything is so important and great, and we need more of that, and it must help other people to see, like, because that's just it. We just need to hear those voices, and then people go, oh, I can do this, and now there's somebody else in the going, oh wait, I can do this.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's so, and like literally just as you said, like even just like talking about how I started reading so early, and all the books. I recently actually wrote a poem about all the books that I read like as a kid, and of course the book limitations that are being set on children, the types of books, you know, that mention Black people, trans people, sexual content. Like, what are you talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? And I feel like it just robs children of, it robs kids, it robs the youth of being able to like experience different perspectives. Because I went to an event that was run by the Writers Union and like and WGA and Alexander Writer Center, and it was about Freedom to Read Week. And one of the panelists said something so powerful. He was like, if you limit the books that the youth can read, you're also limiting their capacity for empathy. Because they're not exposed to all these different thoughts and perspectives, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Like, you're limiting their brains. And when you grow a population, or like a population of voters who lack empathy, that creates apathetic voters. And so when you make certain laws that affect other people, you won't care. And I'm like, that is literally insane to me. I'm just like, so when it comes to like all these different like diverse voices, and of course it's not like the all the voices that have been there before don't matter, because it's like all the people who have written poetry and create these organizations, like they're so important, but also like understanding their role as like a certain space
Yeah.
for now other people to also come into. Because diversity, I mean, literally by scientific law, diversity makes human beings stronger
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay? Those are very strong genes are passed on. Diverse genes are the ones that survive apocalypses. Okay.
Yeah.
Will I survive the apocalypse? No, because I have like -5 vision.
Yeah.
Like I won't survive.
Yeah.
I won't be one of the strongest.
I I don't like cold, so if it's like, day after tomorrow shit where it gets like a blizzard or like climate change just destroys us by being cold, I'm done. Like I'm like, hell no. Or like, yeah, power goes off, it's winter. I don't know how to survive. I don't know how to make a fire.
I barely know how to make a fire. If I don't have matches,
Yeah.
a lighter, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm gone. I'm literally just lying on the ground, and I'm just take me back to
Yeah.
the soil.
Yeah.
Like
I'm done.
I can't be this. But yeah, I think when it comes to like diversity and again like all the attacks on EDIA by people who don't understand what EDIA means, it's like we need to keep like having the voices. Like we need like so many different voices. We need like your voice as a host, like because you're out there
Yeah.
talking to people all the time, and like you're an advocate for like trans rights. So it's like if there's not people who are out there with the voices using the platforms they have to say these certain things unapologetically and be like, I guess I have to say this again.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I don't get it. Like especially when it comes to like the children's books or movies where they're like, we don't want to have like no gay characters because we don't want, just so parents don't have to have the conversation with kids about that yet. And I go, I'm a gay uncle. My nieces and nephews were just, as soon as they started talking, they found out what a gay guy was.
And that's it.
And so what you're saying is that like we don't exist, or like, yes, like my stepsister's trans, and so she's part of the family. She exists just by being out in the world. Like
She's a real person.
these are real people. Don't say that it's not appropriate subject matter for kids when they're humans.
They're human beings. They're literally human beings. And I think it's so wow because even that idea of like, oh, we don't want kids to learn about these things yet. It's like your kids are in school.
Yeah.
They're human beings. They're experiencing feelings. That's where literature and art comes into play. It's like, follow me now.
Yeah.
Follow me now, showing them that it's okay
Yeah.
to be who they are. Like you're beautiful. You're
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
As you are.
Yeah.
Which leads to so many positive things in life versus the negative things that could happen when they're erased, they don't see themselves represented, their identity seen as something negative or like against God or like all these like things. And it's like they're doing our best just like everybody else. They're doing the best to exist.
Yeah.
Just like adults. But you think just because they're kids, they don't know who they are. They maybe still be discovering who they are, but let them discover it.
Let them discover.
Let them discover
Yes.
it. And then you love and support them while they do.
Yes.
For some reason, it's not clicking.
It's not clicking.
It's not clicking.
It's clicking for us. We're
clicking for
getting
us.
it, and I don't get it.
I really don't understand. And it's like it's so wild when I see because I work in an art gallery, so when I like see the parents, because of course like an art gallery could have anything from just like landscape paintings to maybe there's a little nudity in this one, and then it's so refreshing to see the parents who like the kids come into the gallery because our gallery is free, anyone can come, and then they see a body part and the mom or the dad or the parent is just like, yeah, he's like, everybody's got a body.
Yeah.
It's just a body.
Yeah.
And then you move on.
Yeah.
And then you literally move on.
Exactly.
Like, these kids, they also have body parts.
Yeah.
They have seen these things
When
before.
you try to shield things from kids, that's when they want to go, oh, no, I need to know more.
I need to know.
And
I
they
have to know
go,
more.
and they, but like,
Yes.
if you just are bring it up, like, just like, yeah, that's the body part that, no, me and you don't have it, but other people have that
have
body
it.
part. Okay, cool.
And that's it. And if you just sit down and have honest conversations with your children, again, have honest conversations with your children, they will get it. I swear. Even if you just think for yourself, like, oh, I wish my mom told me that. I wish my dad told me that.
Yeah.
Or my parent, I just wish my parent told me this, that. that's the same thing the kids are thinking. Like, I just wanna be told.
Yeah.
Would it be a little cringy and embarrassing in the moment? Absolutely, sometimes, and
Yeah.
that's totally fine. You know,
But that's part of the human existence as well.
just human beings. We're all just human beings.
Yeah. We are all just human
We're all
beings.
just human beings. Talk to your kids.
Yeah, talk to your kids.
Talk to your kids.
Oh, well, it has been such a joy chatting with you. I know you mentioned your website already, aloTpoetry.com. Yeah. People can go check it out. Some poems on there. They can see where to get your book, which I think Shelf Life.
Shelf Life Books.
Yeah. So, go check it out and yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, well, great. Before we leave, I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Because this is an interview.
Oh my.
Okay. So the way that we met. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. So for you, why hosting? Like, what made you want to be a social artist, a hosting artist?
Good question. I always loved entertaining people. That's always just been a joy, just having conversations with people. And I realized, like, acting's fun. I've done a little bit of it, but being able to, like, host and just kind of be myself and do, like, follow a script, but kind of say whatever I want as well.
Yes.
And just lead things going and being a host, interviewing people, but also just showcasing other people, because I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't do a lot of this stuff, but I love highlighting all these awesome people in the world and to, you know, go on stage to introduce people like yourself, which was super awesome. I'm just backstage watching you at Chinook Blast. I'm like, damn, this girl is good.
Dang, you're amazing too. I was like, he's so natural. Like, he just got here. He was like, boom, boom, boom. And he's on stage, and I was like, this is a professional.
Oh, thank
This is a
you.
professional.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just realizing, and it was something that happened to me later. Like, I was like 29 when I first started to like host stuff, and I was just like, oh, maybe this is something I can do. And I didn't think it would lead to what it's led to, and I've had so many great opportunities because of it. And yeah, you just say yes, and you're like, okay.
I love that because my friend Priscilla Cherry, she hosts Solar Power on CJSW with Bethel and Malika, but she calls herself a social artist.
I like that.
And she's like into hosting and all that kind of stuff. So when I meet like a host, and not just someone that's kind of like, oh, I'm announcing people.
Yeah.
Someone that just like really embodies like the hosting, like the carrying of the energy, social artistry, and like really cares about, you know, like certain like issues and topics, isn't afraid to address the topics.
Yeah.
Social artist.
Yeah.
Social artist.
Thank you. I like that. Yeah. I mean, again, if I have even this teeny tiny platform, I'm still going to stand up for what I know is right. And I'm not afraid if I lose people for it, especially sometimes being in this province. I might be going against the grain, but
a little challenging. But one of my mentors, Wakefield Brewster, he's like, if you're sharing and you're saying what you feel is right, and that makes some people mad, sometimes those are the people that need to hear it.
Yep.
Those are the ones that it's like, hey, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
It's like, you feeling a type of way. Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
This is for you.
Exactly. Oh, no, thank you so much.
I'm gonna thank you so much. You are amazing at this.
Oh,
amazing
you.
podcast host. Oh, like, I mean, I didn't prepare a damn thing. Like, he did his research, he prepared. I just stalked his Instagram. That's what I did.
I know. I and it's fun because like I do my research, but I don't like having like a sheet with me, so it's just
he
like
has no
literally
sheets.
all in my head.
Can confirm.
And
He
I'm
has no
just like,
sheet.
oh, this is gonna make the like guest think, oh, he's not prepared, and then I'm just like, ha.
I had a feeling because you were like so on it with the emails. I was like, oh my God, I need to get back to Craig. And then, but yeah, like it's also just like so refreshing because, you know, sometimes you hear like podcasts and someone's like, oh, so you write music? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How about the Beatles?
It's like, what kind of music do you like?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. No, I want to talk to the person. I want to know them and I want to get into it. And
Yeah.
that's,
And that's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a skill that
Thank
not
you.
everybody has.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that not a lot of people know that they need to work at.
yes.
Yeah. So good job, Greg.
Thank you.
You're killing
Thank you.
it.
Thank
Passing
you.
time. And this was a great way to pass the time. Can confirm.
Passing time with a lot of poetry.
Passing time with Craig.
Yeah. Thank you so much. A lot of poetry. Fantastic stuff. Check out her website. It's alotofpoetry.com. We mentioned it. Check out her Instagram and lots of ways to get in touch with her, find her stuff. It's great. It's an aspect I honestly didn't think I'd have someone to talk to on the podcast about poetry, and it just opened up my eyes of going, oh, right. There's that in Calgary, and I want to get more in that world. I don't think I want to do poetry because I don't know if I'd be good at it, but these people are insanely talented and creative. So, yeah, go check out her stuff. Go do something fun. Make sure to follow me on social media at PTWCraig, Passing Time with Craig on Facebook and Instagram for all the fun ways to pass time. Otherwise, we'll chat soon. Bye.